Oh, hello there. Yes, well, at last it is. Phew. Anyway, yesterday, amongst the litter and rubble that is the British media landscape, there was sort of chinks of light potentially. I don't know, something that gives me vague hope. There was this one. Politicians to be banned from presenting news after Farage row. Ofcom's crackdown threatens to reignite a clash with GB News over using MPs as presenters. Yes, which brings us to the freedom of the press as a notion, which is a bit of a naff one in this country because they just want the freedom to carry on being rather nasty bullies for their political masters. As simple as, the particular billionaire class that owns the media don't want to give up any of that power. And who can blame them? Oh, indeed. But it is a farcical notion that an MP with, a political party with, as they did have, 5 MPs, that 40% of those MPs should, be taking part in regular programmes where they're leading those programmes on a particular news channel that is basically a propaganda exercise for their own political party. That has to be farcical. It's also farcical, just a bit of balance. Oh, a bit of balance. Need some balance. Can't be Gary Lineker, all that stuff. Anyway, that Ed Balls has to sit out of shot whenever, someone else is interviewing his wife as Home Secretary. It is farcical. And I'm reminded of the time, I think a year or so ago, when Stanley Johnson was interviewed by his daughter about his son on LBC. And at that point, you do have to suggest that maybe, just maybe, we need some different rules. I mean, we had a sort of window of opportunity under Cameron with Levinson. And, perhaps a Prime Minister with a bit more, genitalia, just to use a sort of modern term, if you like, would have done something about that. Because don't forget, we were in a situation where there were court cases going on where newspapers had pretended to a murdered girl's parents that she was still alive. Freedom of the press. Freedom. Oh, yes. But, we do have this very warped view of what's going on. So, for example, yesterday we had Matt Goodwin, who is basically, propagandist in chief to the Reform Party, who has his own show on GB News, which is a propaganda programme, full stop, station for Reform, who's telling us about opinion polls that suggest that Reform are doing really well. And you have to say, well, I'm not really entirely surprised because they're able to just, they're just allowed to dominate in the media. The reason why they're allowed to dominate is because, we can't talk up Kemi Badenoch because her party is still such bad news. So we just end up with this wall-to-wall stuff about how great Reform is, even though they're not. I might well do something tomorrow about the latest Richard Tice defending Reform's economic policies, which the Economist, don't forget, has suggested it might be a very, very bad idea because they are just effectively Liz Truss Mark II. Anyway, moving on from that, we see this stuff across the pond with the feudal tech overlords. We've had Musk's AI chatbot Grok keeps randomly responding about white genocide in South Africa. Yeah, now somebody is obviously, I don't know who, I wonder who would be doing that. About South Africa. The guy that owns Grok is South African. I don't know, I can't think. It's really obviously is one of those random things, said nobody ever. But we know that Musk will deliberately use his platform to push his own particular agenda, one way or another. And again, it's not wildly reported, realistically, because, that's the way things go. It's fine just to have billionaires that decide what we can and can't do, isn't it? After all, we got rid of the age of kings. Now we're in a much, much better position. And it might do something just to, so that we avoid the nonsensical stuff that we get, whereby newspapers, you think about the trans issue, for example, which newspapers will just run and run with, because it's just a convenient way of having a go generically at left-wing people. That's all this is. The Mail, the Telegraph in particular, will just run anti-gay or trans stories day in, day out, because it's now become anti-gay. I mean, we had this in the Telegraph yesterday. Trans toddlers allowed trend and gender treatment on the NHS. Under sevens to be seen by clinics as health service caves in, notice the inverted commas twice there, to activists on age limits. And we have a nice emotive photograph of a baby on a pride flag, because it's now basically moved on from trans people to just everybody that doesn't fit into their heterosexual normative world. That's what we're now in. Oh, nice and emotive, right? But the thing about this is, if you read the story, link down below if you want, if you can get past the firewall, it doesn't say anything about under sevens being treated. They might be, theoretically, and once again it's like blokes in bathrooms, or blokes playing football, or blokes doing something else. It's a theoretical construct that we're supposed to get very, very cross about, despite the fact the chances of it happening are realistically zero. And we might well, gits like me will point out that we were told a year ago by all of those anti-trans activists like James Esses and the rest of them that we needed to treat youngsters with identity problems, if I can put it that way as gently as I can do, as a mental health illness. But here, what's being suggested is that these people should get no help whatsoever. So which is it? And please don't present us with stories whereby you're saying theoretically this could happen, so we're going to get very cross and present it in the headline as if it has, because it hasn't. That's not what the story is. But of course it's the Daily Telegraph, so it doesn't matter. And as a generic background to all of this stuff, we had another one of those things that never happens, according to the media, and yet has happened once again. 3 blokes, the archetypal live with my mum because I'm unemployable style blokes in Leeds, have got done for basically plotting Nazi-style attacks on mosques and synagogues. Yes, them as well. Because let's face it, the people that go into synagogues with guns aren't left-wingers, are they? Yes, but we're constantly being told that these things don't happen. But the entirety of the British media is quite happy to create a very sympathetic environment with its anti-trans and anti-gay and anti-left-wing and anti-union and anti-everything, basically, climate, whereby it's becoming a lot more acceptable to, stick up Nazi flags and try reactivating Bren guns in the bedroom that a very, very, very long time ago, when you still had a dad, was decorated with, that wallpaper. Still, I can't think of any Andreas Breiviks that would be a problem with, eh? Do have a lovely weekend if you can. Remember, those freedoms of the press are vitally important. Imagine, right, if they couldn't do exactly what they wanted. Wouldn't that be appalling?